Welcome, friends, to this episode of the Everyday Educator podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Bailey, and I'm excited to spend some time with you today as we encourage one another, learn together, and ponder the delights and challenges that make homeschooling the adventure of a lifetime. Now, whether you're just considering this homeschooling possibility or deep into the daily delight of family learning, I believe you'll enjoy thinking along with us. But don't forget, although this online community is awesome, you'll find even more support in a local CC community. So go to classicalconversations.com and find a community near you today. Well, listeners, you have a treat in store for you. I want to introduce you to two friends of mine. We've got Ginny Tran. Ginny, welcome.
Hey, everybody.
And Jody Priest. Jody,
Hi.
thank you so much for making time for us today.
It's my pleasure.
I am glad to have you guys because I want to speak to a truth that we all know deeply. Homeschooling is the adventure of a lifetime, and it's something new every day. For every one of us, homeschooling turned out a little differently than we thought it was going to go. I sometimes look at my kids on a really hard day and think, I saw this going differently in my mind, you know? And when I started out, I had all these ideas of what a great teacher I was going to be and what perfect little students they were going to be and all the amazing things we would learn. And the only thing that has been true is all the amazing things that we would learn. Okay. I was not perfect and they were not perfect, but the Lord was still perfect and he was perfect with us. And I have invited you ladies here because you have a unique perspective on I saw this going differently. And so I want us to introduce you and your family's homeschooling journey to my online friends today and let you be a blessing to them. So I want people to get a feel for who you are and why you have something to tell us. I want to ask, how long have you been homeschooling and why did your family begin homeschooling? Now, look, ladies, there's no right answer. You don't get ejected or buzzed if you say something weird that, is not homeschool perfect, because we already established none of us are perfect. So I want to really know, why did you homeschool from the very beginning? Jody, I'm going to let you start off. How long have you been homeschooling and why did your family begin this journey?
We have been homeschooling. This is our 11th year. We have never done anything other than CC. We started CC when my oldest was 4, and he is now 15. So why? I tell people why, because the Lord knew that we needed to homeschool before I knew that we needed to homeschool. So when we started homeschooling, I have 5 children. We just had 2, and it was my 2 boys. And we just felt like the Lord kind of put a homeschool family in our path with teenagers.
Oh, yes.
And we were like, we don't know what they're doing different, but we want children.
I want some of that.
So we just kind of blindly jumped in. We were like, well, we went to a CC informational and we said, well, that sounds good. And then we kind of wrestled with, but our kids will never ride the school bus or they'll never learn to stand in line.
My girls. Okay. I found out that one of my children didn't want to homeschool anymore. And I didn't freak out, but I asked more questions. I discovered it's because she wanted a lunchbox.
Oh, yeah. Well, we wrestled through all of that and the rest is history. So 11 years and we homeschooled because really the Lord knew that that's what our family needed in years to come.
And yeah, he knew before you did. That's really cool. I think it's really cool that your family has done CC the whole time. Our family began as homeschoolers, but I did not know about CC until my oldest. Well, we didn't get involved. I found out about it a year ahead of when we joined, but My oldest was fifth grade, and so she didn't have she didn't have as much foundations as
Mm-hmm.
her sister had. So that's cool. All right, Jenny, how about you? How long have you homeschooled, and why did you and David elect homeschooling as your education method?
Yeah, well, we just finished our 6th year of homeschooling because
Yay.
my oldest is only 10, so we
Right?
started right from the get-go, and we've only done CC as well, because David started working for CC when Banks was 3, so it was right before he would start foundation, so that's kinda that story, but Jody, it's interesting, your story is a lot like my story. David introduced me to a homeschooling family when we were dating and seeing how their family interacted with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I knew something was different about them. I said, that's what I want. And for
Yeah.
some reason, I just associated that with, oh, it's because they homeschool.
Isn't that
um,
fun?
but that's kind of what introduced me. But we really also enjoyed, or we loved the idea of the flexibility of schedule. And David and I both love to travel, and we knew we wanted to. So, knowing that we wouldn't have to take our kids out of school to go travel, that we weren't dictated by someone else's schedule for them, really appealed to us as well. And of course, we wanted to be in charge of training their hearts in the way that the Lord has. And we didn't see that going well in any other school system. So, that's
That's
kind of why we
beautiful,
decided.
Jenny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. The whole idea of being really, truly able to shepherd and care for your child's heart as well as their mind. Jody, you mentioned that you guys chose homeschooling. You really feel like it was because the Lord knew that you were going to need it before you did. What did you mean by that?
Well, when we started homeschooling, we just had our 2 boys, and then we got pregnant with our 3rd kiddo, and she was diagnosed with trisomy 21, Down syndrome. Um, and that was during my pregnancy. So, the Cliff Notes story, since we don't have all the time in the world, is that homeschooling really fit our family in those younger years when she had some medical issues in infancy. It just gave us the flexibility to kind of focus on her, but still stay up with school. And it allowed us to um, she was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 2. And we were able to kind of pack up. We left Moore County. We're here in Southern Pines. And we packed up our family and went to Cincinnati, where she received treatment in Cincinnati. And the beautiful thing of the whole story is that we left our CC group here for a little while and kind of picked up with a CC group in Cincinnati. So fast forward to today, and she's fine, and just homeschooling works for our family. And the only thing I can say is that the Lord knew we were going to get Eden, and He knew that this was the best match. And so He just led me there before I even knew that it was going to be a thing.
What a beautiful thing that the Lord allowed you guys to establish your homeschool rhythm before Eden joined your homeschool rhythm. And so you were already a little established. Is homeschooling, I imagine that homeschooling is a great fit for her and blending her needs and her interest into the rhythm, the family rhythm of learning.
I mean, I cannot imagine anything else. She has now done CC since she was probably 4 or 5 as well. I mean, she's excelling in all the things. I can't imagine anything else because I have the privilege and flexibility of tailoring her weekly work. I mean, to the point that
Yes, that's lovely.
last year I started a new curriculum middle of the year for her reading.
Mhm.
And so CC just provides that stable foundation, and then all of the pieces, parts that I supplement with. I mean, it's kind of trial and error what
They're
works with
they're
her.
your choices. Mhm,
Hmm.
mhm. That's really cool. That's really cool. Jenny, you said you have how many kids?
I have 5 as well.
5 kids as well. So, does homeschooling work for all 5 of your kids, and does it work for all 5 of them for the same reasons?
Yeah, I think it definitely works for all 5 of them. And they all have their individual needs for sure. I just had my 5th, so I mean,
Yeah.
technically he's still being homeschooled as well right now, but he's
Right.
just turned 4 months old. But I know that it's going to do well for him as well. My oldest, he has a Tourette syndrome. It's a mild form of it, but we didn't know that actually until he was already homeschooling. And it's been a real big blessing to have not only CC, but the flexibility at home to, first of all, get to know who he is and how he learns, to change things on a daily basis for him, because I've found that as he's gotten older, his needs have definitely changed. And what worked even 6 months ago is not going to work now. And I'm able to have those conversations with him and what he needs, even if it's just, an exercise break or if he wants more freedom. With his Tourette's diagnosis, he also, there's usually a secondary underlying condition. So we've got OCD on top of that. So it's been really nice for him. And then also the baby I just had, little Callum, he also has a trisomy 21 diagnosis, and I did not find that out until he was born. And Jody has been my saving grace. I've asked her so many questions, and I really
Yes.
look forward to being able to homeschool with him all throughout as well. I'm learning a lot from Jody.
It's nice to have a big sister, you know?
Yeah.
It's nice to have somebody who has walked the path, even if it's just a little bit ahead of you. It gives you some, not just hope that the path is walkable, but it gives you community along the path. And I really did want to talk about neurodivergence. There are a lot of families. I spent lots of years on what I called the practicum circuit. Like, I went and talked to people in all different states. I did practicums everywhere. And I always had parents who would come up and say, this sounds so, and they would have this longing in their eyes. This sounds so wonderful. I really want our family to be able to do this, but I have a special needs child. It's what they used to say years and years ago. And I'm not sure that this would be good for my student. And then one year I had a student in my Challenge B class who had Tourette's. And I had kids who were diagnosed with OCD. And I was able to say after that, I believe that this is a great avenue for your family, but I wanted you guys to speak to it. So, for listeners who have tuned in and they're thinking, I'm not even sure what neurodivergence is. Jody, would you give us a layman's label, a layman's term for that?
Yeah, I feel like, we can all look up in the dictionary. What is neurodivergent?
Exactly. Everybody can use Mother Google and Google that, right?
In my conversations with families, I'm a Challenge A tutor. I've kind of been around a while.
Yeah.
I always tell people when we used to use the word special needs,
yeah,
and they would say, I have a special needs child. Since having Eden, I always just push back and say, who doesn't have special needs? We all have special learning abilities. So just because they have the label and you don't, we're all still in the same pot of learning, and we all learn differently. So if neurodivergent by definition is just a child that learns differently from what is typical, I guess if we use 5 common topics, where do we land on what is typical?
Right.
What
you can compare to what most people are doing at a certain age, but wow, that's
I do feel
wide.
like half of the battle of being a mom of a quote unquote special needs or neurodivergent child half the battle is getting myself out of the way. I feel like I hold her back so much because in my mind, when I look at the CC curriculum, I say, well, I don't know that she'll ever be able to enter essentials. I don't know that she'll be able to do this. But I need to focus on what she can do. And this year, she was able to grasp the concept of a map and places. She was able to, she is just rocking presentations.
Isn't that wonderful?
So,
for any child to
yeah.
rock presentations, because I had one that was so shy, she did not talk above a whisper for a long time. So for any child to rock presentations, I'm like a fan.
Yeah. Do we always understand what she says? No. But the beauty is her classmates are translators now. So they're getting something out of it. It's just a beautiful, vision of what I feel like the Lord meant for community that we see with her. And, so back to your question, what is neurodivergent? I really would love it if we just did away with it all together and said, here's her learning style. Here's your learning style.
This is how she processes what she hears and sees. This is how she experiences the world, she needs to experience the world more quietly. One of my daughters, when she was really young, she could not deal with loud noises. She did not want to experience the world at high volume. And that wasn't typical for a 2-year-old, but it was the way she experienced the world. And so we made adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that way of looking at that. What does this mean? What is this? Because I understand that neurodivergence in and of itself is not a diagnosis. It's a description of how children process what they experience and how they experience the world. What does that array, whether it is Down syndrome or Tourette's or OCD, what does having a child who is dealing with some of those challenges, what does that mean for education at your house, Ginny?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't do anything differently. Maybe it's just because it's what I know. Because I look at each one of my children and I say, okay, what do you need, Banks? And how do you learn best? Okay, Lila, how do you learn best? And I take my children individually when I'm thinking about curriculum choices outside of CC reading and things like that. How do I need to schedule their day? I don't look at Banks any different just because he has that label, I guess. It's just what I do for all my children because I really I want them to succeed, and I want my house to be calm, honestly, too. And it's what works best for us. So it really, I don't see any different than what I talk to my friends.
It's not based on a label. I hear you saying is it's not so much based on a label as it is based on knowing your child and all of your children and what will be the most comfortable way for them to learn. How can they most happily and effectively take in information, and how can you build a community that intersects the needs of all of your children and what will work, labeled or not.
Right. And it might mean I need to spend a little extra time with Banks on certain things as well. So I know that that's had a big adjustment in our year this year with Banks entering essentials, and his personality, you just got to love him. He likes things a particular way and he follows the rules, that very type A type personality. And
he wants to get it all right away.
Yes. And he has to be right. And it takes him a little bit longer just to understand certain things or why we have to do things a certain way,
right?
Especially with all that essentials work. So it was a trying year in that regard. So I did have to spend a little bit of extra time with him. But again, that's the beauty of homeschooling and the flexibility is I could let the girls kind of go do their thing more independently. And I found curriculums that helped with that, while I focused a little bit more on banks. I catered our day kind of around, I need to spend, maybe an hour of essentials with banks because it's going to take him that long to understand the
Right.
concepts.
Right.
Yeah. So
That's
we
really
constantly
great.
reevaluate as well, because, what worked last fall did not work this spring,
In the
especially
spring.
after having a baby. So,
Okay.
yeah,
That's why.
constantly reevaluating.
Okay. So that's the kind of nugget that I think our listeners are hanging on the edge of their seat waiting for, because we think you know, I'm a real type A, make a list and make a plan. And so I would make the plan in September, fully believing that in April it would still work. And then, be confounded when my children did not see it that way, or, life happened. So to hear you say, okay, you got to get over yourself if you're that kind of planner, and you just need to know that um, you are going to be riding the wave of your children's changing needs, and be
Yeah,
okay with that.
that's a great way to
Okay.
put it.
That's a lovely way. So we all just need to become better surfers. Okay. I'm processing that. And that's probably my disorder, that I have trouble with change. Jody, what about you? What does it mean for education in your home, to have Eden have some unique learning challenges or ways that she learns?
Oh, goodness. I mean, like Jenny, we definitely are, we just hold it with an open hand. Like it worked last
Gotcha.
month. Um,
Let's keep trying it.
I mean, I threw a whole lot of things out the window in January of this year and started something new. So I'm always just kind of open to what works. And I feel like with Down syndrome, there's no one expert on how they learn, because they are individual humans and they all learn differently. Um, but I think the thing that having a different style learner in our house, from our typical more independent learners, has just really caused us to slow down. It's real easy now that we have some teenagers in the mix to just go, 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 go. And our house, we can't, like Jenny said, sometimes I had to spend extra time with banks. Sometimes we have to spend extra time, or change the day up, or I mean, it's just kind of an anchor for us, which is kind of nice.
Have you ever wished that you could just help your student continue the momentum that they started in classical conversations in a college environment? Guess what? Judson College is exactly what you've been looking for. This semester, Judson College is sponsoring the Everyday Educator, and we are so excited to partner with them because we really believe that they have exactly what our students could need for the next leg of their education journey. Let me tell you more about it. So, Judson College really values Christian education, and they exist to equip students who want to give their lives for the cause of Christ, wherever He might call them. So, that means that they're not just helping students who want to go into vocational ministry, but also students who want to live in the marketplace. Judson College also has a specific community plan for their students. They have smaller class sizes that allow students to have individual relationships with the faculty, and that also helps them to get the attention that they need so that they can learn and grow as professionals. Outside of the classroom, they also have what they call the house system, and that provides a vibrant student-led community where students make lifelong friendships and participate in house competitions and experience deep community all the way from freshman year to graduation. Lastly, something I found absolutely fascinating was that they have a classical emphasis. So they have a great books course, which is required for every single degree in undergrad. And in that course, they focus on the history of human ideas through a biblical worldview. And that allows the students to develop as readers, writers, and researchers as they grow as committed followers of Christ. If you want to find out more about Judson College, visit judsoncollege.com/distinctives. Let's get back to the show.
It actually, I was going to say, it actually sounds lovely to say that we are going to pursue restful learning, or we sometimes need to change the atmosphere so that it's not frenetic, that it's not go, 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 that doesn't really. And you know what I think? It probably doesn't frenetic go, 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 get her done, probably doesn't really minister to many of us. We're just used to living that way.
Yes.
So we might all benefit from a slower, easier pace, a more relational pace, a more tailored to our current needs and learning culture pace, a better rhythm.
And I can say, Jody, that we found the same thing. We have to slow down a lot. And it was harder for me to slow down than it is for my kids, I think. I think they need to do all the things and we have to be done by lunch or something. And no, we don't. Who says we have to be done by a certain time or we have to do a certain subject every day? We've done so many different things to change the day up. We even one semester, maybe even just 6 weeks, I just did one subject a day, but we did it for like the whole week's worth. And that worked for that season. And then we had to move on from that. But slowing down was a real big eye opener for me as well, because I didn't want to. It was more me than them. And I had to really humble myself in that to say, take a breath, Ginny. They're okay. They're right where they need to be. Just because that kid's somewhere else, you can't compare what our family does to someone else's family.
Yeah.
And that was a big learning curve for
wisdom. Me. Yeah. It is very wise that there are sometimes lessons that we as parents have to learn before we're very good at shepherding the education of our children. I have so many things that I want to ask you guys, but know that I only have a little bit of time. So maybe what I'll do is have you back another time and we will explore some other things. I suspect that there are some parents, though, who would love to pick your brain. So, Jody, you said that you guys found out that Eden, when you were still pregnant, that Eden was going to be born with Down syndrome. Jody, you and Jenny, you didn't know until Colin was born. What would you tell parents about seeking help when they become concerned about their child's development or about things not being typical?
Well, my answer that I have developed by trial and error, and that I hold fast to now is I don't seek help. I have learned that the world is very quick to label these children, or just give them a medicine or,
a therapy or something to get over. Fill in the blank.
Yeah. So really, this may sound just kind of rainbows and butterflies, but it's really just a matter of just seeking the Lord. And the Lord has been faithful to dump things into my lap that have been life-giving to her. And for full transparency, we last year in January adopted another little girl with Down syndrome from South America who does not speak any English, and educating her. I have no person to ask anything because it's such a unique story, and really the Lord has just been faithful to lead. So really just seeking the Lord for that is all the advice I can give, because I feel like before I was wise in this area, I would seek help and it just left me in a defeated place, just a defeated and overwhelmed place that didn't have the answers that helped.
I can imagine getting so many opinions and so many recommendations that at times were probably very divergent. And so how do you choose? You don't, who's right? Who's right? So Jenny, for you, you said that you guys didn't realize that banks had some of the processing issues right away. So what led you to think there may be something different that we need to address? How did you recognize that there were some things you might need to work around or work with?
Yeah, well, we noticed some of his tics. That's a symptom or something that children with Tourette's have. He was
Mhm.
moving his arms a certain way or
Okay.
making noises with his mouth. And at first, he's a kid,
He's a kid.
but it started getting, I guess, kind of more consistent. And I remember there was one day it took him like 2.5 minutes to get one sentence out because he had to make certain movements with his head and noises with his mouth, and it was in causing him not to be able to what's the word I'm looking for, guys, to
To
communicate
finish
with
the
us.
sentence? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I videoed him. I asked him a question and I told him I was going to video him and send it to our pediatrician at the time. And I just videoed and I said, what do you think? And, she said, well, if you want to go see a neurologist, that's your choice. Our pediatrician at the time was very much, you're the mom. And
Right.
so I just
Right.
decided
Follow
to
your
go,
cues.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because I knew I did not want to medicate him for anything. I knew it wasn't that bad,
Yes.
but I think for me, I just wanted to know, is this something I need to be aware of and that I can research on how I can help him better? Because I don't want this to hinder him as he
Mhm.
starts school
Sure.
to be able to communicate with people.
Sure. I
And
mean, is there
so,
something that you could know that would
yeah,
help them? Not, is there something you
right.
could do about him? Is there something you could do
Yes.
for him?
Right. And that goes back to wanting to know my child. And even when the neurologist just said, yes, he's got Tourette's. And I said, well, what does that mean? How do you come to that label? And, listening to her, doing my own research, I came to know that, okay, yeah, we have a mild form of that. It's
Mhm.
not what they portray on TV. It looks a lot different.
Right.
And to keep
Right.
my mind open about who he is. Because I will be very honest, when he got that diagnosis, it was, it hits you here as a mom, like, oh no, is he going to struggle? How am I going to parent him? The same thing when we found out that Callum has Down syndrome. In the hospital, I was a wreck. I just, not because he had that specific thing, but it was, God, am I
What
really
will you
prepared for this?
do?
How am I going
Mhm.
to parent? I don't know what I'm doing. I already have 4. Like, are you sure, me? Like, and that's what I actually texted Jody as soon as I could get myself together. I said, Jody, here's where we are. I know you've been here before. I need help. So in that way, I did ask for lots of help. But I
Mhm.
also, as I get the different opinions on Tourette's or Down syndrome, I take it as a grain of salt and I go to the Lord about it. And I say, okay, I know my child best. What do you want me to do with that, God? And it's been hard, but we've also seen the beauty in that the Lord provides what you need, even when you don't know what you need. Kind of like what Jody was saying earlier about she homeschooled and didn't realize how much she needed it. Man, while we were in the hospital with Callum, the Lord just showed me who He was in so many different ways because I felt I was the one that was scared and unsure, but God was like, I knew this was gonna, Callum was gonna be your child from the get-go. I know Banks was gonna have this forever. This is his personality. This is the way he learns, and you're just learning this. And it's okay because I had this in my plan all along. And it took a while. I was not great those first few weeks, but I'm the kind of person that I like all the information, but I'm gonna make my own decision when you give me that information.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I want you to talk just for a minute about the power of community, the power of community, and not just for children who have special learning plans, for all of us. What does community look like for your family, and what are the blessings of community for all of our families? So, what do you think, Jody?
Oh man, I feel like different seasons of life, community has looked different, but it's always been a vital backbone to our homeschool. There was a season of life where community held us up. And thankfully, we are celebrating because community now is a place where it's not necessarily holding us up. We're thriving. Community's thriving. It is. I was telling, I don't remember who I was telling, but I feel like if we kind of flip around like what community is doing for us and say, well, what is our family doing for community? I feel like Eden and our new daughter, Emily, their just presence in community is just such a life-giving thing. We are not insulated in our comings and goings all week. And the children that they do community around, they treat them differently than kids outside of our CC community. And it's just a really great thing because there's just a silent teaching that's happening, just to love people where they are, despite like any physical differences or things like that. So
Hey, everybody, we want to interrupt the show to let you know that National Memory Master and National Commencement are moving to the Classical Conversations Family Cruise in 2026. That's right. This cruise isn't just about celebrating CC graduates and memory masters. It's about all CC families. You can connect with CC leaders and families at all stages in their journey and turn education into a memorable family adventure as you explore the Bahamas aboard Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. Check out our landing page to find out more at classicalconversations.com/cruise-2026. Let's get back to the show. We hope to see you there.
So what about you, Jenny? How has community been a blessing to you and to all your children, to your whole family?
Yeah, we love community, and we have, several different, I guess, types of community. But I give a lot of real life experiences. For instance, I agree with Jody. Communities can look different in different seasons of life, but that doesn't mean that's the only season that they can speak to you. After we had Callum in January, and we found out about his diagnosis, and we spent time in the NICU, and we were delivering an hour away from where we live. And so I, of course, got discharged, but I had to stay close by in Raleigh to Callum because he was still in the NICU and I was having to go back and forth. Well, our community, we used to live in Raleigh. We've been here in Whispering Pines now for 5 years. But our church community from Raleigh was all around us. We stayed with our old marriage mentors who were in our wedding, or I did. David had to come home to be with the other 4 kids. So our community here in Whispering Pines was taking care of David and my kids by bringing them meals, helping David with babysitting the kids while he worked. They were, my friends were texting me and encouraging me and praying for me while I was in Raleigh. Our old church in Raleigh was somehow, I had 2 nurses that went to Summit, our old church. I had a friend that I actually mentored her. She came to visit me in the hospital. It was just really interesting to see how God took those 2 communities during that season and brought them together to help us. And we hadn't been back to Raleigh really in 5 years, but all these people came out of the Word Works to say, let me bring you a Starbucks gift card. Let me come get you lunch today. So it's just, I don't know where we would be without community, honestly.
Yeah. I love that people come out of the woodwork, and there is no limit to the love that the Lord wants to show us. And it is a beautiful thing when that love flows through his people, and that we're able to minister to one another. I love that. I appreciate you guys sharing your experience and your wisdom. I feel like you have given us lots of things to think about and lots of wisdom to build our home community on. No matter how many children we have, no matter what the learning needs or the processing abilities of our children are, you guys have given us some really great principles upon which to construct a good family learning community. And I appreciate y'all being here today. I want to give you one more chance. I want you to tell me your family's favorite thing to do together. What is it that your family loves to do all together? Because maybe we all need a new idea for the summer. Okay. All right, Jenny, you're laughing like you have something in mind. Tell us, what is it that you and David like to do with your kids all together?
Oh, I mean, we we love upbeat music, and so we love to sometimes just blast the music and have silly dance parties with them.
Oh,
And
how fun.
most of them love it. I will say Banks is not the biggest dancer, but he participates in his own way, and we had to learn to be okay with that.
Yes, yes.
But
That
I've
is funny.
found that sometimes when your house is just feels too serious, or you feel the joy has just sunk away, we just, all right, let's go dance it out. So that's one thing we really love. But we
That's
also,
awesome.
yeah, well, we also love to travel to new places together. So we've been able to go with David on a lot of work trips, which has been fun.
Oh, that's so nice. You mentioned you love to travel. I think that's fun. Well, I know some people who might pay big money to see a video of David dancing. So you can hook me up later, okay?
I will.
Jody, what about you? What does your family love to do all together?
Oh, I think I would say we like to go camping.
All right.
We're campers, and I think our kids led the way on that, and my husband and I kind of got on board. Like, well, I guess we'll
Yes,
enjoy this.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, we don't get to do it as much as we'd like anymore, but it's a great thing.
Something for everyone to love out there in the woods, huh?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. All right. Ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your homes and your families with us today. Listeners, I know you have been blessed. You can let us know what a blessing this has been by dropping us a line. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.